club get from winning that game. And by the time they hit the finals, there's a big possibility they could be playing off for the double. They could be playing for double chance.
Well, Brash, Noble Park are renowned for being a very imposing, both physically and also in their ability, their skillful ability, particularly in the midfield area, as we talked about with Peter. Do you feel that Rowville do have the ability to compete against that efficiently?
Most definitely. They shut Vermont's midfield down the last time we played here, and they did it quite consistently. And as we alluded to, blokes like Cameron Manuel and Lachlan McDonald were key elements of that loss, inflicting that loss the other day, Dyson.
Just on that, Brash, in terms of them competing for a top 3 spot, and I mean they currently sit third at the moment. They're pretty much locked on with Noble Park. Do we give them the win this afternoon? Is probably the first question.
I think they're right within the mix. Even though I'm going to tip Noble Park, but it won't be by much. Like I said, they are right in the mix.
Their run after that is Lillardale away, South Croydon at home, Baldwin away, North Ringwood at home, and then Blackburn away. So, to me, they only lose one more game from here on in.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
You'd have to say 3 are almost certainties.
I mean, that would put them, I think, at either 5 or 6 losses for the year. And if you're not making top 3 after that, you're doing.
And the other thing is that puts added pressure on then on Norwood and Vermont because they need to win they need to find or win an extra game somewhere along the line, to get that third spot.
As it stands at the moment, Baldwin sit 10-1-1 with 42 points. Noble are 10-2 with 40 points. Rowville sit in third, 9 wins and 3 losses, 36 points. Vermont in fourth with 8 wins, 3 losses and a draw with 34 points. And Norwood in fifth spot with 32 points. So effectively, anyone can finish anywhere at the back half of the year. But like you say, if Rowville continue to win, and we only give them today's loss potentially, and probably the loss to Baldwin at home, given how good Baldwin have been on their home patch.
But I tell you what, though, look,
they finished 13-5.
Well, that's right. But going back to last week, Vermont, even though they never looked like they were going to win the game, ran them to 12 points, and the fact that Rowville ran ran Baldwin to 8 points or 9 points here in the earlier round this year, they can still go down to Baldwin and get the points down there as well. I mean, injury, it all depends on how injury and form of players at a particular time on a particular day. And the thing is, by the time Rowville actually get down to play Baldwin, and they could have won their last 4 or 5 in a row and go head into that game just full of confidence. And there's just no two ways. They're in the mix. Like you said, they can win 4 out of their last 5, but the 5th game is still not beyond their realm either.
And just looking ahead, Noble Park actually have to play Norwood and Baldwin on the run home as well.
Yep.
So they've probably got, just looking through, they've probably got the worst draw out of the top 5 sides, I would say. Wow. Vermont don't have much to compete. Vermont do play Norwood, so that's... But effectively, in the last 5 weeks, you're going to play one of the top 5, or one of the top 4 around you, and
it's inevitable.
Noble Park have to play 2 of them. So
I think the thing is, though, what the good, I think now the way the ladder actually stands, the 5 is really pretty much set in stone, and it's it's just where they finish. The thing is, you look at the top 4, that 5 now, and really now the odd loss is not going to hurt them ladder-wise, in regards to not playing finals, because they've got that 3-game buffer, between 6th place. There's just no way known that those sides outside the 5 are going to be able to put enough pressure on those sides to make finals in the first place. Yeah,
tops, I mean, in their worst run, no one of these sides is going to lose more than 3 games in the back half of the year.
No.
So effectively, you're looking at 3 losses plus 3 wins back the other way to then try and create a bit of pressure, and that's not going to happen.
No, I mean, look, we can sit here and talk about all the permutations, but there's still 5 weeks to go after today. And the thing is, they say a week's a long time in football, but, there's still a lot of footy to be played before we hit the finals. A lot of things can happen before that.
Did either of you boys expect Rowville to be this high at this stage of the season coming in?
We had this conversation on Wednesday night and saying that the idea of Blackburn being unlucky, with injury and that sort of stuff would be stiff. And then you think, well, There's probably two sides up there that have overperformed to expectations, and one would be Vermont, given what they lost. But now we know how influential the players that they got in were, and the other one was probably Roval, that we expected that Noble Park were going to fire given who they picked up. Norwood were going to fire given that they were the premiers, and Baldwin definitely had a bone to pick coming into this year. But I mean, I look at it now and I go, well, outside of, say, Montrose, Blackburn and North Ringwood, who would take Roval's spot? And
there's just no way. No, those three that you just mentioned don't even come close to Roval this year.
Well, I mean, this is just kind of a throwaway line, I guess, but if you probably looked at Montrose, Blackburn and North Ringwood, their records against other sides, I'd say that most of those wins that 5 wins each that they've had have come against each other or the 4 sides below them. And that probably says a lot about the 3-game gap that's now opened up between 5th and 6th.
That's right. You look at, and like I went and watched North Ringwood point in question last week, and on that form that they showed last week, even though they beat East Ringwood, there's just no way known that they could beat a side in the top 5 on that form.
Moving on to talk about Noble Park a little bit quickly, just before we run through the games. And
I tell you what, this is a really, really the thing we talk about Noble Park, and which Ray Baird talked about last year, that they wouldn't make the finals, and that something had to give. Well, the thing is, where I reckon Noble Park improved this year is they've picked.
What a bit is that? Mind yet? Or are you? I know you're going to give me the cliche one week at a time, but it's got to be something in the back of your head, given your form so far.
Yeah, of course it is. I won't give you the cliche one. I mean, that's too predictable. But yeah, you're right. Look, it's always in the back of your mind. But obviously, the cliche I will give you, it's about getting the job done today, and that just about shores up. If we can get over the line,
Going.
The quality guys, we got back to the footy club, who were instrumental in their 11 flags was a terrific bonus for us. So look, again, it guarantees nothing. We've got some really good young players that have their hand up at the moment. Dylan Collis. Look, he's been able, as you said, not be the key figure to be able to kick goal. Like he did last year. So yeah, he's obviously had that freedom.
With regards to Kyle Martin coming back to the club, and the fact that his experience playing not only at a high level, but just his...
Absolutely. Gets it right.
Yep.
Mick, you won every first quarter so far. Something you place a great emphasis on throughout the week before each round?
Oh, look, we do. We don't go out there to significantly say we're going to win the first quarter. It's about our contested ball. It's about so many things that we need to get right, and the scoreboard will look after itself if we do those things right. So it's about starting well and making sure that...
Stamping authority?
Oh, absolutely. Like today, for example, we come down here into foreign territory, and we've got to make sure that we aren't dictated to by the opposition. We come with a strong mindset, and I'm pretty confident the guys will have that mindset today.
And just on returning to the coaching ranks, obviously, this year, do you feel that you fit in like a glove, hand into a glove? It's a natural fit for you. You didn't have to readapt to the machinations of coaching as much?
No, absolutely. I mean, it's a great club. The club gives you everything you need in regards to being able to recruit and to be able to get some really... and create a really good culture. And you're right, I've fitted back there very nicely. So couldn't be happier so far.
Just on that, and I know we keep harping back on you coming back to the club, but was there much... Obviously, there was a lot of talk about, John Knight and the work that he did, I suppose, trying to adjust what you'd put in place. Was there much that you had to do in terms of going back to that sort of Noble Park style that we knew rather than sort of the defensive style that we saw last year?
No, not really. I think the guys, we've got terrific leaders at our footy club, Plymouth, Monaghan, Anderson, Shane Allen, just to name a few that... pretty much got the guys on board in regards to the way we want to play. Look, you obviously sum up your game plan on the personnel you've got. We think we've got the personnel to be able to establish a game plan that we think allows the players to play with flair and overlap and all the great footy words that we use. So, did
you sort of scratch your head walking away from the club last year and sort of think what was the mindset behind it?
Oh, not really.
I mean, without sort of having a crack at John Knight.
Yeah. Look, not really. Sometimes coaches aren't suited to clubs for whatever reason it may be. They bring a game plan. They come to a footy club, and sometimes it just doesn't work. It doesn't mean that John Knight's a bad coach. I mean, it's just it just didn't work out in regards to the plan that he had for our group. So again, it's just one of those things that. For me to come back, different coach, different game plan, and so far, hopefully, it's standing up.
Yep, definitely. Well, hopefully it stands up this afternoon, and hopefully this rain stays away for you. It's going to be a pretty cold day, but all the best of luck.
Yeah, look, I appreciate it. Just a quick shout out to my wife and my daughter at home who are listening, so they love to listen every week. So
no, good on them.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
We'll keep them entertained all afternoon, and good luck to Noble Park this afternoon in what should be a cracking game. We might head to a short break. We'll come back right after this. We'll dissect, I think it's about 19 other games this week with the split round of Division 2.
Yes.
But on Pancake Parlour AFL Game Day, this is the warm-up. We'll be back right after this.
Oh, Barry. He was a great guy, a real larrikin. He loved his footy, was a loyal Carlton supporter. This year's our year, he'd say. He always had Slim Dusty blaring through his speakers, so at Barry's send-off, his coffin was painted navy blue, and Slim Dusty's looking forward, looking back filled the room.
At Tobin Brothers Funerals, our motto is, if it's legal, it's possible. Visit tobinbrothers.com.au. Tobin Brothers Funerals, celebrating lives.
Program sponsor.
Hey man.
Yeah, man.
Can you smell it?
Smell what?
It's my favourite smell in the world.
Oh.
Footy season.
Yeah, man, like you can smell the grass at the Mighty G.
Yeah, and you know what else I can smell? The hot marshmallow chocolate at Pancake Parlour.
They're like my favourite smells ever. Like first you head to the G and smell the grass, and then after you've cheered your guts out, head straight to Pancake Parlour and warm up with a delicious hot marshmallow chocolate.
Oh, it's made with pure Belgian chocolate. Seriously decadent.
Oh, Pancake Parlour, open 24 hours, High Point, Malvern and Doncaster East.
Lovely.
Program sponsor.
Good news, boys. It's 20% off to travel on Eastlink on weekends and public holidays with a car tax. So, with the money you'll save, you'll have enough.
Enough for what, Coach?
My birthday present next week. And I have my eye on some sparkly gold footy boots with some pandas on them.
Get a breeze tag and use Eastlink, the quickest way to get around Melbourne's East. Arrive fresher, play better. Eastlink, it's time better spent.
In sparkly boots.
Program sponsor.
For the best EFL rap on radio, don't miss EFL Sunday, thanks to Crocs Play Centres. From 10 till 2 every Sunday morning, the EFL media team bring you all the final scores, goal kickers, best players and ladders following a big round of EFL footy. The gang talk to winning coaches, players and special guests to bring you the final scores from all the seniors, reserves and under-19 matches. EFL Sunday, going live and local for your footy from 10 every Sunday morning on 98.1 Radio Eastern. EFL mobile web app. Own a smartphone and love the EFL? Then the EFL mobile web app is a must for you. Go to f.efl.org.au to access fixtures, results and ladders for all EFL grades. You can also receive live around-the-ground scores every Saturday afternoon from the palm of your hand and contribute to the mighty EFL forum while you're online. Download the EFL mobile web app to go live and local for your footy, right from the palm of your hand. The warm-up continues right here on EFL Saturday.
Oh, it only gets colder out here at Seabeck Oval. It's not getting any warmer. Just looking through on Twitter, I think the rain's hit a couple of clubs, a couple of grounds across the Eastern Football League,
Lights
namely Templestowe, which is good at the other side. Oh, the lights are on as well. So
it can just keep flowing all the way through to Yarra Glen. That'd be handy, wouldn't it?
if we can palm it off from Templestowe out to Yarra Valley, that'd be much appreciated. But I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I don't think
We're
so.
under a rain belt.
I poked my head out of the caravan just before, and I felt a couple of drops during the break. So it's not going to get pretty anytime soon. So strap yourselves in. If you're in your car, I reckon that's the best place to be. So hang out there and listen to us right across the afternoon on 98.1 Radio Eastern. This is EFL Game Day, brought to you by the Pancake Parlour. And with that said, I think we might start Division 4. We'll go through all the previews for this afternoon, and we'll kick it off with what is a big game in terms of the ramifications it's got on Division 4. The Eastern Lions taking on Kilsyth.
Yeah, Dyson, for the first time this season, Warrandyte's number one position is now under threat after a big loss, or a loss last week by the barest of margins, Damo, by a point to the informed Kilsyth. When you look at
7 on the trot now.
Yeah. When you look at Warrandyte's form, the only 2 losses they've had in a year by a point. So they're not. It's not. It's not bad form.
No.
And the last time they played Forest Hill, which was the radio game earlier on in the season, they comprehensively beat Forest Hill.
Yeah.
I think Forest Hill are just going a little bit better this time around. And I reckon at home, I reckon they're right up for the challenge, and I reckon they'll want to reverse this result today. I'm going to go Forest Hills in this one.
I might go with Warrandyte, actually. It's one of those toss-of-the-coin games, isn't it? Because, Warrandyte, those solitary point losses, that'll probably have a perverse effect in a way, because they won't have the pressure of being undefeated in a sense. So I'd have to go with Warrandyte.
Good Waverley Hawks take on Nunawading. Somewhat of an intriguing game for the Waverley Hawks. You'd think they get the job done, but I expect that to happen, particularly given what Surrey Park did to Nunawading last week.
Yeah, that draw last week for Glen Waverley Hawks probably stunted their momentum a little bit. Nunawading are coming off the ignominy of being the first side that have been beaten by Surrey Park this year. They're a bit of an enigma themselves, Nunawading. I actually thought they were a chance a couple of weeks ago against Coldstream, but couldn't get the job done. But I think Glen Waverley Hawks have got too much to play for, and I think they'll get the job done today, especially at home.
Yeah, I agree. Glen Waverley, for me, you just wonder how costly that draw could prove to be in the final weeks and the end of the season.
First ever draw for the Glen Waverley Hawks.
Really?
Yeah.
In 200 games of Eastern Football League football, that's their first ever draw. Obviously, take out the 2011 Grand Final, which was a tie, but obviously ended up getting decided in the end. We move on, though. Surrey Park taking on Coldstream, and funnily enough, in this game, Surrey Park's got a better form line going on last week's results.
Well, they have, but the thing is, it's probably the longest trip that Coldstream have for the year, going to Surrey Park and vice versa. I was up at this game earlier on in the year where Coldstream pantsed Surrey Park by over 100 points. I don't expect the result to be as much this afternoon. And Surrey Park have probably have got a little bit more confidence in them, and they've probably got some players back into the side that they haven't had earlier on in the year. I expect a more forward showing, but I still think Coldstream, even by 50 points, I reckon they'll still get the job done this week.
Yeah, I think it'll be a convincing win. They want to bridge that gap between themselves and Kilsyth, do the Coldstream Football Club. That'd be, aside from travelling the ball, and would that be the longest geographical path in the EFL, Coldstream to Surrey Park?
Templestowe to South Belgrave.
Yeah.
I see.
Yes.
It's about 41 kilometres. I think that's
as the crow flies.
Yeah. Oh no. Google Maps tells me it's 41 kilometres.
Well, you have to get on at Thompson's Road or something, and then go to the freeway to Wellington and straight up the mountain. Yeah, that's pretty cold.
Another game that we're going to look at, Donvale taking on Ferntree Gully in another decent road trip, but it's even after Ferntree Gully got the win last week, there's still no certainty to poll a 4 points against Donvale.
No, and I think that the thing is, I know they talked to Peter Farrell on the show, and he did sort of allude to the fact that they haven't gone as well as what he'd hoped. But look, in all fairness to Ferntree Gully this year, and I know I was a bit on their bandwagon because I thought they had to play finals this year based on their previous form in the previous 2 seasons. But when you look at their side this year, they've introduced a lot of youngsters into that side, and the dynamics of that side has changed so much. The experienced guys that they really need to step up to the plate haven't really come to the fore as much this season, and it's really left it to these young guys to pick up the slack. But I think there's still enough quality there for them to get the job over Donvale today.
I would say so as well, but I think Donvale would challenge them. They'd have a bit of incentive to avoid the wooden spoon.
Well, the thing is, Dave, you're right, Damo. Look, and the thing is, Donvale have shown that on occasions they're at least competitive for a half to 3/4 of a game. It just comes down to the key moments. The bottom sides, the difference between the bottom sides and the top sides is how they play the key moments of the game and when they play
how they stand up.
How they stand up.
Just looking at a couple of photos on Twitter, it's getting pretty ugly at the MCG as well. So wherever their rain
it's raining now at the moment.
As I look up, it's just got pretty bad here. So.
I reckon Joe Watson will be laughing that he's not playing today.
Exactly right. Final game in Division 4, Eastern Lions taking on Kilsyth out at Fair Park Reserve.
Well, what can we say about the Cougars, Damo? They're on a huge run at the moment. Eastern Lions, on the other hand, well, their form just continues to be hit and miss. Good one week, ordinary at best, and the other week they're a hard side to pick on their day at home. Their consistency is, you're right, is not good. Look, there is still a chance today, but I think Kilsyth are just going way too well. Jay Sherlock at the moment, he's just ripping the competition apart. He's kicked 35 goals, I think, in these last 7 or 8 games. He's the key man for them, and I can't see anyone stopping him.
Well, they'll have to look at double teaming him. That's probably the only option there as far as the Eastern Lions are concerned. I'm going with Kilsyth as well, but do you think this is possibly the last chance for the Eastern Lions to at least make a charge for the finals? If they lose today, would it be over?
I think you're right, because there's 2 sides. I think Glen Waverley Hawks and Eastern Lions have to win today to stay in the mix, because I just think when you're asking sides to now win 4 out of their last 5, you're leaving too much to chance. You need injuries to go your way. You need form turnaround and to turn around very quickly and
maintain it.
Right, and even to make the finals, you've got to be hitting finals in good time, and then luck goes your way. But those 2 sides, those 2 that we've just talked about, have to win today to stay in contention.
In Division 3, if this rain pushes sort of northeast, it's going to be an interesting clash out at Kings Park, because we know that ground doesn't hold up at the best of times. Upper Ferntree Gully hosting Heathmont.
Well, last week Upper Gully travelled up to Sylvan in what I thought was a bit of a danger game, and unfortunately for
only beat them by 80 odd points.
I know. Unfortunately, it wasn't a danger at all. Good thing about Upper Gully is the fact that they are clearly the 4th best side at the moment, but they also they don't win out of turn. I think they're still going well enough, and they've still got enough quality to beat Heathmont. I think Heathmont really, really struggle away from home. They don't kick enough goals. They just do not kick enough. They don't kick a winning score enough for them to move forward. And they had to win last week against Ringwood, which they couldn't get over the line, and they only kicked 3 goals. That's not a good sign.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going with Upper Gully at home as well. Too much at stake for them. They can overtake Templestowe potentially today, because the Dockers take on the Basin, so they could assume that 3rd spot if they win.
Baronia taking on Churnside Park. Churnside Park, I reckon they consider themselves half a chance in this game, particularly with the weather, and it also means that they all but confirm their spot in Division 3 next year.
Well, that's a good thing for the Churnside club. You know, I think that they've had a good run as of late. They come up against a Baronia side who, up until last week, were positively awful. I saw them a couple of weeks ago against Sylvan, and they really, really struggled. Churnside Park are not without a chance in this, but I think Baronia might turn the corner today. And if they want to play finals, this is their last chance, because if they can't win, they'll be paying a visit to the saloon very quickly.
Absolutely. I'm going with Baronia at home as well. Too much at stake for them.
Last chance saloon for Park Orchards, I think, this afternoon. If they can't get the job done away against Ringwood, I reckon that's almost curtains. Given even still with their fixture on the run home, it's still going to make it very, very hard.
Yeah, look, unfortunately for Park Orchards, they come up against a Ringwood side who are as unpredictable as any side in third division. Good 1 week, don't seem to be able to turn it on the week after. Trent Farmers probably is the real barometer of this side at the moment, Damien. If he fires, a Ringwood win. And Park Orchards, on the other hand, they're not a bad side. They have multiple goal kickers, which always keeps them in the game. They've got 4 or 5 blokes that can kick goals. Ringwood always rely on Farmer a lot to kick the majority of their goals. I'm going to tip a bit of an upset here. I'm going to go for Park Orchards. I reckon they're a chance today.
I have to go with Ringwood, I must admit. They're on the cusp of making the finals. A big win today would certainly define their season. It'll be interesting. I just don't see the capability of Park Orchards to negate the influence of Farmer, so it'll be interesting to see whether they can. But I have to tip Ringwood.
One of the informed sides in the competition, South Belgrave take on Sylvan in the King of the Mountain clash.
Well, Damo, what do you reckon about this one?
Well, South Belgrave, I've mentioned this before, South Belgrave are on top of the mountain, Sylvan are down the bottom on the other side of the foothills, and I think that'll play out today. South Belgrave for me.
Yeah, you don't think the strawberry fields can upset the mountain today?
No, I think Sylvan will sink in that reservoir of theirs.
Yeah, look, I think you're right. South Belgrave, ran the Basin to 16 points last week. Wouldn't say the result flattered them, but previously their form was exceptionally well. Tommy Hallinan was in great form.
Yep.
Backens and Odermatt were in form with the thing. I think they packed too many guns. If results go their way again today, South Belgrave will maintain that maybe 1 game, 2 game position in 5th spot, and I think they're still going. I still think they're going well enough to be playing in a finals campaign. They've got a really good side when they can put it on the park.
You mentioned Tommy Hallinan won't play this afternoon,
unfortunately,
along with Dale Hines and Brad Adams.
Oh, jeez.
So, although they do bring back in Gav Pears and Brad Condor, so almost like for like in 2 of them, but Tom Hallinan's still going to be a massive loss. Whitehorse taking on Mitcham, and I tell you what, Whitehorse would have prayed for rain last night, because I think that's going to stop Mitcham from kicking a cricket score.
Yeah, you're right. And I was having a bit of a chat with a gentleman from Whitehorse last week, and look, they're under no illusions where they are at this particular stage of the season.
I think as close as it is, sorry to cut you off, I think they've almost conceded to some point.
You almost
their fate in terms of going down next year.
Yeah, I don't know about that, and that wasn't the impression that I got. But the thing is, what I did get off them was the fact that there's such a heavy reliance, and Ray Baird and I have spoken about this so many times. The reliance of Ed Sim. He's the man. It's sort of like if he can stop Ed Sim, you're basically stopping Whitehorse. He's the heart and soul of that club. And the thing is, I just think that other players, need to step up. The thing is, they're playing at Kerry Muir or Whitehorse Park. It's a bit of a boutique type ground, but I don't think it's going to be enough to hold Mitcham. Mitcham are just. They run their halves. If you look at their back end of their second halves this year, they run games out better than any side in third division, and by big margins too.
And they're physically superior, I think, to Whitehorse, and I think that'll be enough, particularly in these conditions. That'll be enough to stifle Whitehorse. Going with Mitcham. Expect
Bell and Braden Cross to run to control the half back line. They'll set up many forward forays this afternoon. I can see that.
I reckon if I was the Whitehorse Pioneers, I'll be looking forward to the next 3 weeks. They've got Ringwood at home, they then play Park Orchards away, and then they've got a massive clash, which could potentially be the radio game up at Sylvan against the Cats, which will be effectively the relegation game.
I think so.
They've just got to control this afternoon, and I think the conditions help that they need to not lose as much percentage as possible.
That's true.
No.
But moving on, we'll go through the last game in Division 3, and it's probably the best game, Templestowe hosting the Basin.
Well, I said on the Bush and the Burbs segment the other night, come 5 o'clock tonight, we're going to actually find out whether Templestowe are contenders or pretenders, and I'm not going to back away from that. I was very bullish on them last week. I thought Mitcham looked a bit vulnerable on going on a previous couple of weeks' forms against some of the lower sides, and I thought they were ripe for the picking. Unfortunately, Templestowe weren't up to the mark against Mitcham. Well, they face another stern challenge this week, even though it's at home against the Basin, who have been in equally as good form as what Mitcham have, and have only suffered that loss to Mitcham. I just think that the Dockers, there's more. The Dockers, for them today, it's more about them, and it's not so much about the Basin. They need to win today just to, boost their credentials come for the finals. Because if they can't win today, they won't beat the Basin or Mitcham any other time throughout the year.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. Templestowe, for me, I think there's too much of the line for them.
Little English cricket jive from Aaron Cooper already back in the studio.
What's he doing there today?
He's learning all the panel off Barry Cott.
Good lad.
Hopefully he's got his workbook out and he's taking a lot of notes because he's going to be in there for a couple of weeks in about a month's time. But we move on, and one man who's probably getting sick of seeing the caravan because we're back here for a second time in the year, Justin Gross. A very good afternoon to you, mate. As we turn your mic on, my apologies.
That's all right.
That's better. I say we've been out here for the second time, but you must be, in a way, you must be glad in seeing us because it means you're in form.
Oh, look, definitely. The first time that you guys came out here earlier in the year was really the first time that Roville's had a game of the round. This one being the second one, to be honest, it's probably better than the first one. Now that you've got second v third, both teams looking to cement their positions, obviously, with the run into the finals. It's a pity about the rain and the 1 in 5 year storm that we're meant to be having, and I think it's just started now. So, look, we're more than happy to have you guys back. It's great.
Do you have to somewhat pinch yourselves? This club's sort of, since coming up, been there or thereabouts, but this is sort of the year that at the moment it seems like you've taken that next step to become the real contenders in Division 1.
Yeah, and that's always been part of the plan. We're probably, in saying where we are now, is exactly where we'd planned to be. We've made no secret that really we probably see 2017 as really what we're building towards. Yep. But definitely last year and the year before, coming into from Division 2 to Division 1, missing out by percentage. First year, last year we were effectively a game down, but this year we're really pleased with where we find ourselves.
Justin, I couldn't help but as I was walking past the club rooms before, I noticed that you were deep in discussion, obviously with a couple of your committee members, obviously brainstorming a few more ideas on how the club can move forward again.
No, that was more about a large auction night that we were actually planning. But
gee, how wrong was I?
But yeah, no. Oh, look, it's one thing that the planning basically doesn't stop.
No.
Apart from finals finishing, these days it's nearly it's semi-professional. It's just about full-time job. We don't stop.
No.
Effectively we have 4 weeks off, but that's probably about it, just to let everyone refresh. But the planning really starts probably about round 3 to looking forward.
When we spoke to you about this early on, when we had you on earlier on in the year, and it just seems like that. When you're a side contending for finals, as the year progresses, it almost seems like it keeps going up a notch for the executive as well. It's almost like that the players have expectations, but then all of a sudden the expectations come back on the committee too to try and match what's happening off the field. Does that sort of put pressure on the committee to try and ramp things up a bit more?
Look, it's been steadily building. With obviously the work that Dave Howlett did for the last 4 years, and in terms of where we find ourselves now. So it's definitely been building, and expectation only goes one way.
Yep.
And it doesn't go down.
No.
So we've been well supported. I've been well supported by the committee in terms of what we're doing, how we're going about it. But we've got a decent playing group that understand where we are, understand what we're trying to do. So really that expectation level has been fairly well set. Depending upon how we finish up this year, you might find that kicks up a gear or two next year.
Yeah, that leads me to my next question. Every year the bar goes up, especially in the Eastern Football League, the quality of football actually gets better as well. Is there ever going to come a time, Justin, where the bar can't go any higher, where look, the club, you can only take a club so far because you are restrained by certain contingencies. Mm-hmm. Is it ever going to get a stage that you think that it's going to hold a side in First Division back?
Look, I don't know. If we take it through to obviously looking at the point scheme coming in,
yep.
and then the potential of a salary cap coming in, possibly a couple of years, maybe 3 years after that.
Yep.
I think it will definitely change the landscape, and a lot of the presidents' committees are all in agreement. Something's got to give somewhere, especially around the we'll call it local football, the great standard we've got. But in terms of budgets, really starting to get a lot of pressure on.
I was going to say there was a lot of talk of between club presidents, more so about just being able to, with a salary cap, it might not just be restricting it. It's just about creating a number to give to players and say, well, if you want 20% more, this is what we can pay, and that's it.
Yeah, and I mean, look, it's one thing that we've been quite straightforward with our players in terms of, listen, if you have expectations that we believe aren't in sync with where we're going, we'll be quite happy to tell you about that, and we'll try and work around that. But I mean, it affects everybody right down to the guys that say on Hamburger Hill that are selling their hamburgers. And effectively, if somebody wants a 5% pay rise or a $50 a week pay rise, and that's one player, well, then our guys are going to sell another 10 burgers.
Yeah.
And that just blows out to hours and time. And that just cascades through the whole club. And you talk about pressure that it puts on the committee and the volunteers and the helpers. It just
Is that something that
exacerbates.
Players don't understand enough?
Look, I think on the whole, you're right. I don't think they really do. I mean, let's face it. Our expectations are that the boys will commit to pre-season, come out, play, train, and on game day they perform. And that's really, apart from expectations around our sponsors and delivering to those sponsors, that's all we put on the players. We've started that process of educating, starting with the leadership group to get them understanding the finer details of what it actually costs to run the club. And when I say the club, that's our junior and our senior program. And really what it costs for us to put every single one of our 14 teams on the park every single week. Yep. So, and you've got to take into account utilities, wages, the whole gamut.
Yeah.
And some of the boys were quite understanding about what that actually costs and already had a fairly good idea. But some of the other boys are like the eyes wide and like dinner plates, and the first thing they say is, "Oh, really? I had no idea." So it's just, and we're about educating our guys to understand where we are as a club, what we can afford to do as a club, and then what we can look to improve based on that moving forward.
No, that makes perfect sense.
Now, Justin, given your on-field position, I know you have to keep a lid on everything, but do you feel the optimism around the club, both on and off the field, is at its highest it's been for a long time?
Oh, look, yeah, definitely. I mean, it all going well over the next, call it 3 to 4 weeks. I mean, it'll be the first time that Roville's played Division 1 finals in our history, full stop.
Yeah.
And the way that we're going at the moment, I think we can be fairly bullish to say we'll feature in finals. It just really now depends on how deep we go into finals. Finding ourselves currently sitting third on the ladder. If you asked me at the start of the year, would I take it at this time of the year, I would have said without a doubt.
Yeah.
And that would have. And that's pretty much where we find ourselves through that process. Really is, and take nothing away from Pete and the boys. The hard work is paying off, and as we can see now.
Yeah, definitely. Well, all the best of luck for not only this afternoon, but for the rest of the year, and hopefully history's on your side come finals time.
Thanks very much, boys.
Thanks very much to the president of the Roville Football Club, Justin Gross. And I mentioned history. Roville are to play finals this year. They will become only the second side to play finals in all 4 divisions of Eastern Football League, the other being last year's.
Closest friends celebrated his life on a charter flight over the Yarra Valley. They took in the breathtaking views, enjoyed a glass of bubbles, and told lots of stories.
At Tobin Brothers Funerals, it's possible.